Hads, I'll come to you first. Well, we've lost the opening 2 games. We've got a World Cup round the corner and we can't play spin. So is that a worry?
Well, on the surface, if you put it that way, it is a worry, BJ. But I'm not too concerned leading into the World Cup. Yes, it's been brutal to watch. Pakistan have bowled well. Their spinners have done an outstanding job. But I think now with this third game, we need to start playing as close as we can to our World Cup team. And I think that's what we'll see tonight. You worried about it or what?
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried. Some of my concerns aren't so much about the batting, but I thought the last 2 wickets they've played on haven't been 198-run wickets. And then when you're trying to chase 10 and over on wickets that are ragging like that, it's going to make the batting look pretty bad because it's, you know, look at that. That's keeping so low. But, yep, they should be batting better, but I'm not sure how you chase 200 on a wicket spinning like that.
Well, Pakistan won the toss in both games and they batted first. They won the first game, they scored 168, then they scored 190-odd in this last game, 198 Hads. Their spinners have bowled well, no doubt about it. They've kept the stumps in play and we've struggled.
Well, that's the one thing that they have done. They've kept the stumps in play. They've used the variation in pace. And the one thing that we haven't come up with, we haven't come up with a plan to start our innings. And that's the key. You actually need your top order batters to be going into that middle phase of the game set. And then you can take a risk to the spin. But what we've seen is batters unable to start the high-quality spin.
Well, we've got Inglis, Renshaw and Cooper Connolly have got to fire in the middle order because they're going to be the ones taking on the spin in the World Cup.
Yeah, definitely. They need to get going. It's another good opportunity for them today. It's a quick turnaround, though. They played last night. They've got to come back out today. It's not like they've had a lot of time in the nets to adjust a strategy. It's all going to be a mindset change or a mindset plan. That's the only thing they can really change in, 16 hours, 18 hours. So they don't have long to turn it back around. But I think they've got to keep looking for something because if we have to play Pakistan in the World Cup in a knockout game or in the Super 8s, they're going to want to have a slightly better strategy than what we've got at the moment.
Well, these are the changes for Australia for Game 3. We've got Matt Short at the top of the order, so Travis Head drops out, Cam Green stays 3, Matty Renshaw, Stoinis comes into the side, Philippe there as before, Mitch Owen into the side, boys, and Benny Dorcas into the side, Moies. So a couple of changes there for Australia. And, you know, you've got Short, Owen and Josh Philippe, who aren't in the T20 squad, World Cup squad. They're playing the third game. So, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Josh Inglis and Travis Head, but a couple of changes for Australia at least.
Yeah, that's bizarre, BJ. I think, you know, Travis Head hasn't exactly, you know, had to spend a lot of time in the middle over the last 2 games unless he's pulled up sore. That's the only thing I can think of. He's pulled up sore after last night, but why Matt Short would be playing this game considering he's not in the World Cup squad.
And then that may ask the question, Hads, that, you know, there's plenty of talk about Steve Smith, how he's not selected in the World Cup squad. You've got a couple of guys there in this. I know it was pre-done and pre-planned, but, you know, if we struggle against spin, you know, Steve Smith could be the man that should be coming in.
Well, everyone's talking about it. The form Steve Smith's been in, and not only this Big Bash, but he's been doing this now for 24 months. So if I'm looking at that team tonight, it looks like they've decided on their teams before they've left Australian shores. Because there's no reason Matt Short would be opening. He's not in the World Cup squad. He doesn't play well against spin. You won't often take him to the subcontinent. So I see no point that he's at the top of the order. Give someone like Cooper Connolly a go up the top, who is going to the World Cup.
And then you get to the situation you might get over in the World Cup. You might get Namibia and Ireland and maybe even Sri Lanka. You might not get a hit. That's a bit of a concern if you're in the squad and you're in the team and you can't get a bat.
Especially for those middle order or lower middle order batters, someone like Stoin, he probably needs to move up higher up the order, who, you know, come the World Cup time, he's going to probably be batting 6, 7 with maybe Maxi. So, I just don't see the point of someone who's not playing in the World Cup to be soaking up really key, crucial batting time at the top of the order.
Well, the only thing that makes sense is their middle order, I think. If you look at Green, Renshaw and Stoin, they could go with that middle order in the World Cup. And that means Travis Head comes back in, he naturally goes to the top. But if you have a look at there, you've got Green at 3, Matt Renshaw at 4, Stoin, Philippe down at number 6, but I think Josh Inglis will come in and play that role, obviously, at the World Cup. So the only thing I can think of is those 3 are going to play that role in the World Cup, and they want to get a match practice against the spin.
Well, I'm amazed that Maxwell's not over there then, isn't he? I mean, he's the guy that I would have thought that probably needs practice here. He hasn't played much in the BBL as well, and then you head over to World Cup, and as I said, you know, you play some of the minnow teams in those group stages, you might not get a hit, and that could be a problem.
Yeah, it is. And I think Australia are actually really missing his bowling as well. I know they've bowled a fair bit of part-time spin, but they've been outspun in terms of, it's not that the Australian spinners have bowled poorly, it's just that the Pakistani spinners have bowled a lot better. And I think Maxi has a lot of variations where I think he'd be quite useful on these types of wickets as well with the ball.
Is there a question there for Steve Smith to come into the side, come into the squad?
You're asking the wrong bloke.
Yes.
You're at the other end.
Yes.
I'm 100% saying if he's not the best T20 batter in Australia, I don't know who is.
Well, the other thing with Steve Smith, if you have a look at his form, and everything's been at the top of the order, and we've got two settle openers in Travis Head and Mitch Marsh, but the one thing Steve Smith made a name for himself is playing spin, controlling the middle overs, and that's how he played 10 years of his Big Bash career in 2020 cricket. And on a surface like we're seeing in Pakistan, he'd be perfect at number 3 or 4 to control the middle overs to spin. But yeah, it's disappointing he's not there. He's playing as well as not as anyone in our country, but in the world at the moment in this form.
Yeah, well, you get that right. I mean, he's a great player of spin, and that's what we need in the middle order. I mean, Renshaw's obviously come into that middle order to try and mix that up. They've come out and said, look, he's a left-hander. That may come off. That may come into it as play, but it's a big question mark, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd actually go to Smithy at the top and have Mitch at 3, and I just think, imagine Smithy 40 not out at the 6 over mark by the time the spinners come on, rather than having to start against the spin. And I think Mitch is powerful enough to clear the boundary when they've got 5 fielders out anyway. So I would have Smithy at the top, let Mitch captain and bat 3, and then 4, 5 and 6 you can sort of go Green, Renshaw, Maxwell, Stoyne or Inglis as well. So you've got a lot of options there in the middle order.
Yeah, that's going to be the probably the sticking point for Mitch Marsh at the top of the order. If him and Travis Head don't fire, especially you would think now that teams are going to be going, you know what, we want Australia chasing. We want Australia chasing in the subcontinent.
Yeah, they do, but I don't think they'll get as wickets as extreme as they've had here in Pakistan. It's not so much the spin, it's been how slow the wickets are. And I think, looking back at our batting, it's been the shot selection. We're trying to play behind the wicket.
Yep.
And on a slow surface, you need to hit your deep man, rotate the strike that way. At home, you use the pace of the ball to the spin. So we just haven't adapted quick enough to these conditions.
Yeah, all right. One player we want to have a look at is Babar Azam. You've seen a lot of him, obviously, at the Sixers, Moe.
There you go.
Look, I don't reckon we've seen the best of him also over here in the first 2 games, Australia and Pakistan. I reckon he's really struggled against spin. I think Adam Zampa has been such a key bowler for him.
Well, this is not the way Babar plays. That's just a poor shot. And that, to me, shows a guy who's under pressure. They've changed his role, Babar. He's come in at number 4. He's used to batting at 3 or the top of the order. And like you said about Steve Smith, when the spin comes on, he's been 30 or 40, but he's been found out starting to high-quality spin.
Yeah. And that's his style of play. He likes to knock the ball around, doesn't he?
He does. He's not like the most proactive T20 batter you're ever going to see. He's going to build an innings and then the rest of the team sort of... he anchors the innings and the rest of the team has to sort of bat around him. Pakistan didn't pick him in their T20 team for, probably a year, 6 months to a year, and then they brought him back in just before, maybe a few months before the Big Bash, and he was in really good form for him there. So, I mean, he's a world-class player.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's going to find his form, whether it's this game or hopefully for Pakistan leading into the World Cup. But, yeah, I think out here in Australia during the Big Bash, I think he struggled a little bit with the bounce and maybe how still he stayed and how straight he tried to play. Yeah. And he also got some really tricky wickets that he had to open the batting on. And I think as you said, when you watch Steve Smith play, he walks around the crease, deflects, uses the pace, he hits a lot squarer than someone like Babar. So there's some big, there's some big changes, and for him, he's been trying to get used to our conditions here in Australia, and then he's straight back over there. So, heaven forbid, even a champion needs a little bit of time to get going.
Of course.
Well, the one thing Babar's done, he's got a new role. He's normally, as we said before, at the top of the order. So he's trying to work out where he fits into this team as well. He's under pressure because he was left out of the team for 12 months. And the way the openers and number 3 are playing, Salman, they're going hard. Babar can...
It's got to be harder for him before, doesn't it?
Well, I don't think it does. I actually think if he just accepts what his role is, his role's not to play the power game or the reverse sweep. It's to get to the other end, feed the 3 power hitters at the top. But as we know, Babar doesn't like change. We've seen that during Big Bash, and that's what he's got to accept. He's got to accept that this is his role in the team. If he accepts that, he'll be fine. Yeah,
I actually think if he's going to be used at 4, that almost needs to be quite flexible. Where yesterday he came in, they were 2 for plenty.
Yep.
And he almost has to slide down there, where I think he's a great, like he'd be perfect when they're 2 for 30 and he just rebuilds a little bit. And as you say, he knocks it round, he gets to 30 off 30 and then accelerates at the back end. But I think when they're off to a flyer, that Ayub's been coming out and he's taken the Aussies on, he's smoking it in the power play. The skipper's batting well at 3. I think it's quite tough for Babar to come in with 5 out and to keep that momentum that's been flowing. But I think if they get off to a flyer, maybe he shifts down and someone comes up one. But if they're in a bit of trouble, then, Babar's your man.